Hey everybody, welcome to Deal Camp, and we're talking about due diligence today, which is so exciting, and why you need to do your due diligence whenever you're buying a company. Why is it so important? Why do people geek out on due diligence? It's just weird, huh? The answer is it saves you a lot of freaking money. So we're going to talk about that today. Okay, so we're talking about due diligence, and there's basically three reasons why people skip due diligence that we want to avoid this same mistake. So number one is that people just don't know how. It's complicated. There are a lot of things that you've got to check, and people skip over some steps because they don't know that there is a step there that they need to go through. So that's number one. Number two is that they're just eager to close. So there's some kind of deadline, something that's happened where they want to get this deal done. They feel the clock ticking, and so they skip steps for that reason too. And then finally, they just lack the funds to be able to bring in the team members that they need to do this work for them. So I'm going to focus on why this is all really important in this and tell you a story quickly about a guy named Sam. Sam was a sales guy. Like if you've ever met like a true born to sell sales guy, you know, they get excited about stuff, they love people, they trust people naturally, and then whenever they want something, it's really tough to get them to not just convince themselves that they're going to go through with this thing. So Sam goes out, he starts looking at businesses, he meets a broker, the broker shows him a few deals, and this broker is this really experienced guy who's been doing this for a really long time. And so Sam begins to look up to the guy, not thinking, well, the guy's being paid by somebody else to represent this business, and maybe I'm not getting the full picture. He doesn't think about any of that. He just sees that, okay, this business is doing $500,000 a year in free cash flow according to the broker, and the multiple that they're asking is looks like it's about the same as what the other companies that I'm seeing are selling for. And so I like the business. I know that I could sell that product. Let's do it. And so he called his CPA a little bit and tried to find out what the CPA thought. But before the CPA had even called back, Sam had decided that he was going to go through with the deal. And so they close the deal, everything's looking good, and then a few months in, he's basically Sam's reviewing the numbers with the CPA for real this time. They're really doing a deep dive, and the CPA is like, you overpaid for this company by at least 2x. The numbers don't match up to what you're telling me that they had for cash flow whenever you bought the business. And so Sam's kind of shocked, and the blood's running out of his face. He's trying to come to terms with the fact that maybe somebody lied to him and that they sold him a bill of goods. Well, this happens. Obviously, Sam's upset, and the consequences of it were, as they realize this is a problem that Sam's not going to be able to sell his way out of, because the business requires more equipment, more working capital, more employees. The business is so stretched thin today that we can't really even afford that. You're going to have to bear down and do a lot of this work yourself, Sam, or else you're never going to be able to get out of the situation. So Sam ends up having to fire employees. He has to call his bank, renegotiate the bank note right out of the gate. Not a great way to start a relationship with a bank. And he has to call clients and basically say, hey, can you forward me some more money? He's doing everything that he can to get out of the situation. So Sam's angry. He's angry at himself. He's also angry at the sellers. He talks with this attorney, and the attorney's like, the way that this contract's written, there's not a whole lot that you can do. You had the responsibility to do certain due diligence. The way that they represented the information to you was not technically, illegal. It was definitely unethical, but not illegal according to your contract. And so I'm sorry, you're gonna have to bite the bullet. So Sam has to clean this whole mess up, and it takes him years to do this. He's calling clients and asking for advances on money. He has to call the bank and renegotiate the bank payments, the bank note payments, so that he can spread it out so that he has a little bit more cash flow to buy new equipment and make repairs on the building and all that kind of stuff. And then he eventually has to fire employees as a result of it because there's just not enough money to go around. There's way less than he thought was available, and he was barely paying himself. I mean, it was a bad situation. He would have been much better just doubling down on his day job, and he could have worked 45 hours a week and made more money, but instead he's stuck in a business where he's making less money, working a lot more hours, which is not what we want for you. So what does that all mean? So here's what you can do right now to avoid this mistake. So there's two options here. Option A is you can do all this stuff yourself. So you need to make sure that the numbers tied to tax returns, that you can review bank reconciliations while you're doing your due diligence. Make sure that everything ties out, everything makes sense. Come up with your own numbers, basically. Option B is you bring in outside help. There are people who will review all this stuff for you. There's CPA firms. There's people who do what's called quality of earnings studies. There's attorneys who will help you understand, is there outstanding litigation or liabilities that are going to come back to bite you? All of that can be handled by other people, but you got to make a decision which one you want to do, and you got to have a budget for it. That's what I recommend. So those are the two different ways that you can handle it. And before you get into a negotiation, you want to already know what you're going to do. You want to know what the checklist is going to be, the general checklist is going to be, and then who's going to be the person responsible for that check on the checklist, right? And if you do that, most of the time you're going to find anything that's going to come back to bite you. So with that, let me know if you've had an experience like this. Maybe you know somebody who's had an experience like this by making a comment below. And if you like what we're talking about here in these videos, check out what we're doing at dealcam.com. And like, subscribe, share, smash buttons, smash, and we'll see you in the next video.